Yeah. The pointed finger. The M. What about the M do you need to do about a pointed finger? Well, many hidden things to overtly discuss about the Templar revelation, the secret code of Leonardo da Vinci revealed. Lynn, Picknett, and Clive Prince, the authors, guardians of the true identity of Christ. The book, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown was, you can look this up, this book's the inspiration for that book. And you can ask the authors and you can ask Dan Brown. They play a cameo, if you look up Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince cameo in the movie on YouTube, like a clip, a scene of them in the bus when Keanu Reeves was filming. They have like a background image, and they're there. And you can also look up how they talk about it. So here we go. Now, it's very Christianized, this book. It's very hard for me to read. So, I've flipped the page now, right? You understand? Like, it's not like I've been reading this. I flipped the page now. Let's see. Alright, so I'll start by saying the Templars, the Cathars, the Priori of Sion, the essences of the cult of Isis and Osiris. This is hardly surprising. Our entire culture is based on certain assumptions about the past, and in particularly about Christianity and the character and motives of its founder. I don't think Jesus was a motive, or the founder. He might have been the motive, but the founder was St. John. Keep reading, right? The assumptions are wrong, yeah. The conclusions based on them will stop very short of the truth, or at least present a distorted picture of the facts. When they first confronted the disturbing conclusions we set out on this book, we had to believe we were mistaken. Should we carry out with the investigation and make these conclusions public, or should we carry on our investigation and with those crucial discoveries, well, the time has come truly here. People are becoming aware, and it's people like them who have made us aware, and we all call them heretics. Meanwhile, every single thing that's changed in society, maybe not because of them, but because of the research they've done of other people that made changes, and if you read this, your life's gonna change, and you're gonna not be scrubbled. You're not gonna call them heretics anyways. The central figure is, of course, that of Jesus when Leonardo referred to him as the Redeemer, right? Making any obvious assumption there, but Jesus initiated the sacrament of bread and wine, yet there's no wine in front of Jesus on the painting of the Last Supper. A mere token of what amounted to the whole table. The light of the missing wine perhaps is also an accident that the bread on the table was very actually broken. And some subtle message conveyed about the true nature of Jesus' suffering. They are a mirror image of the Redeemer, where one wears a blue robe and a red cloak, the other wears a red robe and a blue cloak in identical style. And let's look at this astonishing work further. I'll show you a picture if there's one here. First, let me get to it. What's the time? All right. The Turin Shroud, as all literature, both against the authenticity recognizes, behaves like a photograph. It exhibits a curious negative effect, which means that it looks like a vague, to the naked eye, can be seen as a detailed photograph, negative, like a negative print, right? So the Turin Shroud behaves like a photograph, because it is. It's an camera obscura, a pinhole camera. Now, I showed you the pinhole camera on Elvis Levi's deathbed in one video. Well, I actually went to class once, to tech class, and I ended up getting grade 65. I only attended one class, and my final grade was 65% because I made the best pinhole camera they'd seen since this. And then people they were stalking me. They came to see, and I was with like Leonardo da Vinci with contraptions behind the library. They're like, oh, she's going to a library, let's follow her. No, I was smoking weed in contraptions that you pull with bottles and bushing them up with tinfoil. I got the weed to burn through the tinfoil until they get come down into the buckets and sip it up. I see them, I go run under Lisville Bridge, right? At any rate, the subject of experimental photograph is a plaster of a bust of a girl which was disappointingly light years away from the statues of the original model that they did when they had their materials ready in the 15th century. They made one, right? They made one to show the Vatican that they can make one, right? And the Turin Shroud, among many other things, 500-year-old photograph nonetheless of Leonardo da Vinci himself, a hoax. Take it to Rome! It came from Jerusalem, right? I can't go on, right? So the drawing shows a virgin and a child together at St. Anne's, Mary's mother, and the St. John the Baptist as a child. The infant Jesus appears intently to her daughters, oblivious from close quarters, and is making the John gesture with curiosity in a large masculine hand. However, the upraised forefinger rises immediately over the tiny hand of Jesus, which is giving the blessing and overshadowing it, literally both metaphysical and seated extremely uncomfortable way of the side saddle. They were just doing the hand gestures that the church said, no, don't do those, right? And they were that's what they were doing at the time. That's how this is a religious symbol, just as much as it's a drug addict overdose symbol, right? It doesn't mean supremacy. It means, well, I can't really tell you what it means because we don't go chasing waterfalls, right? So now we flip the page. This is what we all want to hear. Almost bereft of the garnished statuary adorns many other buildings, it nevertheless contains small plaques, depictions of sanctions of the cross, high altars beneath a large tapestry of a young blonde woman, virgin, surrounded by adoring animals, which also somewhat resonant of one of Disney's more cutest scenes, is still with what constitutes an acceptable depiction of the youthful Mary, and a few plaster saints presiding over her chapels. But to the visitor's left side, as he looks forward to the main altar, there's a small chapel that has no cult statue, but nevertheless has much of its own occult following. Now that can be like Tinkerbell or Tiger Lily or Snow White Witch, or she was cute, eh? Yeah. The animals, eh? Listen to the animals. I mean, the animals apparently saved Hitler from drowning at one point. The older woman looks down in grief and appears to be weeping. The cross her body is turned away from it, and the spreaded M shape repeated in front of the immediate, before the mural. The last figure in the scene on the extreme right pictures a man with an intermediate age, whose eyes were only visible drawn in the shape of a fish. Some contrast pointing out the angles of the soldier spears in the shape of a pentagram is hardly orthodox feature for such a traditional Christian scene. So, Leonardo da Vinci is the mastermind behind our modern perception of Christianity. And it was all a hoax he was doing to be funny. All right, peace out.